The Sermon on the Mount is one of the most widely recognized, widely talked about sermons or teachings in the Bible, and for good reason. Many consider it to be the ultimate or the most important teaching in the entire Bible, and especially of Jesus' various sermons. And so, Sermon on the Mount is Matthew chapter 5 to 7, and this follows directly after he was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil for 40 days. And it's sort of Jesus' first official sermon. You know, he would have done lots of teaching leading up to this point. He was 30 by the time this took place. But this is his sort of like, I'm here moment, you know. This is what you can expect from now on. He's setting the bar high with this one. And so a core part of the Sermon on the Mount is taking the Ten Commandments, which were given to Moses to help as a reference for the Jewish people for how to live a godly life, things to avoid. And he's taking that and he's not saying, no, look, we're not going to do the whole Ten Commandments thing anymore. Those aren't important. Those are just sort of like old news. He's saying, no, I'm going to take these these Ten Commandments that have now been misconstrued and misused as something to hold people to as not being godly because you didn't follow this, you aren't godly, and also for people to sneak under the radar with their sin. So he's saying, here's the Ten Commandments, I'm going the level above, I'm showing you the next level of what it's like, of what these commandments are really trying to get across, what the heart of these commandments is. So let's take murder, for example. He says, you have heard that it was said to the people long ago, you shall not murder, and anyone who murders will be subject to judgment. But I tell you that anyone who is angry with a brother or sister will be subject to judgment. And so he's taking murder, which is killing people, you know. But killing people's that's like the final form of murder. He's saying murder really is birthed in your heart, and it is birthed when you are angry with another human. That alone is the seeds of murder. That is obviously not as bad as straight up killing someone, but it's still the same sin. It's the same sin taken out in different ways. And then he goes to adultery, and he says, you have heard it, that it was said, you shall not commit adultery. Adultery is when you have sex with someone outside of wedlock, or you take what is someone's husband or wife and you have sex with them. So again, that's like the final form of adultery. That's like the ultimate, don't do that. But he says, but I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. So again, that's like adultery, the final form of adultery, sleeping with another person outside of wedlock. Yep. But we're actually raising it so that even if I look out this window and see a woman gazing past and look at them with lust in my heart, which, let's be real, most of us do that all the time, that is still adultery. That is the seed of adultery, and that is what is ultimately still considered by God's kingdom a sin. Okay? And then he moves on to other things. He moves on to giving to the needy. Now, he is not saying don't give to the needy. In fact, most of Jesus' teaching is very intent on you need to be giving to the needy, take care of my poor. But he's saying that be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven. So when you give to the needy, again, assuming you're going to do it, so you better, do not announce it with trumpets. I'm giving to the needy. Hello, look at me, $10,000 in this needy person's bag, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets. He's talking about the Pharisees. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that giving may be in secret. Your giving may be in secret. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. This shouldn't even know that this is doing that. Now, is that impossible? Unless you have some sort of brain injury, I assume yes. But that's the heart you need to have. It's like, shoot, I hope no one sees this. All right, just drop $100 on that. Yeah, whatever, I'll keep moving. Then he moves on to prayer. And again, it's like, oh Lord, he's saying that is prayer, but you're sort of practicing your righteousness once again. Jesus hates the idea of practicing your righteousness. Everyone's saying, look at me, I'm so righteous. He's saying, have the heart of a righteous person, but you don't need to put on this facade of a righteous person because you are a dirty, rotten sinner. And so he shows people how to pray, and it's very simple. It's Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we have also forgiven our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. Again, you can go way deeper into that. There could be a whole 10-hour video just on that prayer, but go look into it. And then he says, when you fast, do not look somber, do not like drag down your face and scruff up your pink hair and be like, oh, I'm fasting, I can't do this. He's saying, no, put oil on your face, do your hair up nicely and fast, but not for everyone to see, just for God to see and see, oh, look at my son, he is fasting, I'm going to bless him because of this. But he says that if you fast just for the approval of others, you've already gotten your reward in full. As in, God's not going to give you anything extra, and you basically just wasted a whole day that you could have been eating. Now, treasure in heaven, he's saying all this stuff, computers, speakers, drink bottles, Bibles, life is not about getting this nice stuff. Life is not about, flexing your money. Life is not about anything here on earth. Life is about looking forward to heaven and letting the image and the guide of Jesus be the guide to your life, but like acknowledging that nothing on earth can even scratch the heel of what heaven on earth will be like someday. And so we need to keep that in mind, and we need to remember that yes, it's great to have this tripod, this camera, this speaker, but ultimately heaven is going to be the ultimate, just the ultimate best everything. It's going to be so legendary. So don't worry too much about stuff on earth. Enjoy them, yeah, but like they're futile. They're here for a bit and then they're gone. And then he talks about worry. Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink. Is life not more, or about your body, what you will wear? Is life not more than food? Is the body not more than clothes? He says, look at the birds. Aren't you far more important than them? But God still takes care of them. So let's not waste our finite time on earth that we could be serving God's kingdom, doing awesome stuff, blessing people's lives. Let's not waste it worrying about, what we're going to eat, what we're going to drink, how we're going to take care of ourselves, because God's going to do that for us. He does that for the animals. Is he not going to do that for humans, And then he talks like God is someone that you can ask things for. You can really seek and you'll find. You can knock and he will answer the door because he loves you. He's not a distant God who's sort of not concerned with the nitty-gritty details of life. No, he's quite the opposite. He wants to be deeply involved in your life, deeply involved in your life. And then he talks about other things to do with God's kingdom. But basically, let's keep it to the core of this message. Love God with all your heart. Love your neighbors as yourself. Now, these were the first two commandments, and they were always meant to be what we live our lives by. But these Pharisees and these Jews, they had gone far away from that, and they had been getting caught up on all these nitty-gritty details. And Jesus wants us to come back to the heart of what we do, to love God and love our neighbors. And so, if you can get deep into Matthew chapter 5 to 7, Sermon on the Mount, study it deeply, talk about it, ask questions about it, you will see that you will start to live a far more Jesus-like life. You will have wisdom on how to live such a Jesus-like life, and you will start to really experience the true beauty of life.